All right, so today we're going to talk about Amélie from 2001. And I watched this yesterday evening, and I really did like it. I gave it a 4.5 stars out of 5. Again, just a star rating. I like talking about it a lot more. So if we get into it, it was directed by Jean-Pierre Junot, and I didn't know he did Alien Resurrection, which I really did not like. But seeing Amélie, it really didn't seem like his style. It's just such a weird. They're just like polar opposite movies, is all I'm trying to say, really. But yeah, did not care for Resurrection at all. I think it's probably my least favorite. Yeah, most people that I know didn't really care for it either. But yeah, it's weird. Didn't know I knew something that he had done. I've heard of City of Lost Children and The Very Long Engagement before. Yeah, again, haven't seen either of them, but yeah, and I love his picture. Really love his picture. I'm a big hockey fan, and there's this one hockey player named Chris Tanev who purposely does a funny picture in like his official NHL. These are so good. And that reminds me of Jean-Pierre. I love it. Love it. But I think that look definitely suits him. Because just the tone of Amélie. And it's like the most quirky movie of all time. It's like everyone's like, oh my gosh, that movie is so quirky. It's just, and the reason it's not annoying when people say that is because I remember when I was in university, had a writing class, and you really need to make your characters unique. Just add character quirks, unique things about the character. And what this movie does is most of the characters that you're introduced to, it like sets up their quirks right away with a voiceover. And it's just these small things that are so relatable and they're so funny. Like her sticking her hand in a batch of grains and really like how that feels. And then I think it was her dad really likes opening his toolbox, cleaning it out, and then putting it back together again, organizing it. And then kind of parallel to that, her mom likes opening her purse, cleaning it out, and putting things back together. And those small quirks were really, really enjoyable to watch just because they were so silly. They were so fun. They were so unique. And a few things where it's like, oh yeah, I see why that's like oddly satisfying in a way. Kind of like the subreddit oddly satisfying. It's just those small things that really made the characters stand out. And I really did like those introductions a lot. And the very beginning, I really liked the voiceover where it's kind of just setting the scene of everything. And it's just noticing just very small details that seem insignificant. The fly, the very first shot of the film, it's the fly landing on the road at a certain time and a car runs over it. And then all this other stuff is happening at the same time. These two glasses of wine floating in the wind above the tablecloth. And that, it's small things, small details, but there's just some weird beauty to it. Like, yeah, those two wine glasses just floating on the tablecloth was so great for some reason. And then at the same moment, she's born. And her stuff as when she was a kid was so silly, so fun. Her, what was it? Her suicidal pet goldfish. That was amazing. I love that. And then her mom just dies abruptly, but it's such a quick thing that happens in the beginning montage of the movie. And then her dad, it's kind of just defines so much of his character. That one thing, that one moment. And I wouldn't say you can see the direct links to her character and how it could define her character. But she was right there, which is crazy. That moment was just like, I was shocked. And yeah, I say from here on, it's more spoilers of the whole film. I say that setup really is like the first 5 minutes, not really crazy. But yeah, right now it'll be mainly just spoilers of the movie. Highly, highly recommend watching this one before the spoilers because it really pays off to go into it not knowing anything about it like I did. I really enjoyed watching it like that. And so yeah, her mom getting absolutely decked by somebody jumping off a building. I was shocked. She's literally holding her hand like 2 inches over it would have hit her. It was, yeah, a crazy moment. And yeah, so before we get too much into the story and everything, we'll get into a bit of the production side. So yeah, as I said before, it's directed by Jean-Pierre Junot. And then it was also shot by quite a famous cinematographer, born in 1957, still going strong. His name is Bruno Delbonnel. And he has directed, if I'm looking at his IMDb right now, oh, these are some amazing movies. Tragedy of Macbeth, Very Long Engagement, which is also Jean-Pierre Junot. Inside Llewyn Davis, if I'm just going down, Coen Brothers collaborator. So we got Ballad of Buster Scruggs. We have Darkest Hour, which I actually did like. Inside Llewyn Davis, Dark Shadows, Harry Potter, Half-Blood Prince, Across the Universe. Wow, he's done a lot. So, legendary cinematographer doing this one. And, man, the cinematography, the colors were crazy in this movie. Like, whenever I watch videos on YouTube describing just, like, how much color impacts a story and everything, sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I really don't notice it, and then I could appreciate it more if somebody else explains it to me. But this was a movie that, like, it makes it very apparent on how important the color is, and the color really drives a lot of the cinematography and how this movie looks. Like, this is a perfect poster for this movie. It's so red, it's so orange, it's so warm. Everything is so warm. That's just something like, it's a lesson that you're taught as a kid with color theory, warm and cool colors, and it's something that you can very easily identify with this movie. So many warm colors, and when there is that splash of blue, that, I guess there is a bit of subtle splash of blue in this poster, but sometimes there's these weird, oddly vibrant splashes of blue in the movie. Yeah, I know there was like one time a lamp beside her, and then you had blue arrows when she was guiding that one guy to try to find her and give him back his booklet of photographs. And I haven't thought about it too much because I did just watch it yesterday, but it definitely seems like, yeah, the blue is very, very important with the story. Maybe it can mean she's stepping out of her comfort zone because she's been a loner her whole life, because that's mainly her character. She was pretty much homeschooled, a loner her whole life, does things by herself. And yeah, so the blue is kind of like, feels like stepping out of her comfort zone. I ended up finding it somewhere on my computer. No, it was just somewhere. I typed in a few words and found it somehow. It just showed up, really. Just showed up. But and so a few other production / just reception side of this movie. It was nominated for 5 Oscars, which is great. French movie, foreign movie, so it was, of course, nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. This is in 2002. It didn't win. I wonder what did win. So this is 2002 Oscars. So if I look up 2002 Oscars, foreign language film, No Man's Land from Bosnia. Can't say I've ever heard of that. Okay, a few other Oscars that it was nominated for besides Best Foreign Language Film. We got Best Sound, Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction, and Best Writing, written directly for the screen, so not adapted. And yeah, I think all of these are justified. I think that, yeah, the sound design was awesome, just as important as the visuals. And yeah, cinematography. It was nominated for cinematography and sound, so both side, audio, visual. Of course, yeah, it was absolutely incredible, unique, and amazing. Best art direction, which you got to give a lot of props to the cinematographer just for, yeah, the colors and everything. But yeah, of course, it goes hand in hand, cinematography and art direction. And best writing. And I think the writing one is very interesting to me because I definitely think it's well-deserved. But I think when I'm watching the movie, I'm thinking about the writing and how they would come up with this, but everything in the movie seems so random. And like I said before about the character quirks, they add so many character quirks, so many unique things that when you're actually in the process of writing, it is quite difficult to come up with those things. And it just feels so natural whenever you watch it on screen like this one. But with the story in this one, it was interesting because there were so many of these small details. And then her story loosely followed the plot line of her figuring out she can help people, finding that booklet of pictures, and then falling in love with that guy. It's such a loose, not terribly straightforward narrative. If I were to make a logline for the movie, I feel like it would feel complicated. Like, I said those few specific points. Her finding out she can help people, and then her finding that book of photographs, and then falling in love with that guy. That's just a weird, winding, connected story that when you read it just like a synopsis, it seems like, wow, how did this all fit together? And there were so many just side plots as well, like all the customers at the bar. All the customers at the bar were so unique, and they were so fun, and you felt like you could live inside that world for a while. It's like a sitcom. It's like How I Met Your Mother, where they have the bar. That felt like just like a bar that you return to throughout the movie, and it's such like a cozy place because you know all the characters and everything. And the plot line with that one customer getting with both those workers and everything, that was absolutely hilarious. I loved it, and those actors were absolutely incredible. Every actor in this movie does go over the top a bit, but it fits the style so well. And yeah, they were absolutely incredible. And so, yeah, with the writing, like I was saying, there's just so many small plot lines. And then also the gnome plot line with the gnome just traveling the world with her friend who's a air, what is she? What's that word I'm thinking of? Yeah. It was just her friend that works on airplanes, and she was just traveling the world taking pictures of these gnomes and mailing it back to her dad. That was absolutely hilarious. Don't really know what it has to do with the story. Maybe it's connecting to him feeling like, oh, he never got to do things when his wife was alive. And so now that this gnome is doing, he's kind of weirdly living through the gnomes and all the places that he goes. And yeah, that was just, it was so fun. These weird, small quirks that this movie has are just absolutely incredible. And I think those 5 nominees that it got for the Oscars were absolutely well-deserved. And the more I think about the movie, I like it more. Because I think right after watching it, I was like, okay, what happened? What is this about? It was a fun ride. And now it's just like all coming together, just like the overall vibe, style to everything. And just the difficulty in that writing, how unique and specific all the quirks are and everything. It comes together in such a nice package. I really, really dug it. And not to mention, she was absolutely amazing in the movie. What's her face? Audrey, how do you say her last name? Audrey Tautou. She was absolutely incredible. I thought I saw her in something else before, but I don't think I have. But I've just seen the Amélie poster so much. It was a movie where I was like, I wasn't actually 100% sure if I've watched it. I know I hadn't logged it on Letterboxd, but I was like, oh, I've heard of this movie so many times that I'm almost like convincing myself that I've seen it before. But I know that I hadn't. But again, her performance was absolutely incredible. She was, I don't know, it's just, she did this, I don't know how to put this. She had this gleefulness to her character, but also kind of like a blankness to her face where all of the negative stuff that is coming at her in life, whether it be anything, it's just not weighing on her at all. And you really, really felt that. And when she sees other people, like when she helps other people, helps the blind man, helps those two, the customer and the coworker get together and everything, just the way she just slightly smiles at it, just so satisfied by everything that she's done, is just absolutely amazing. And I think that she has this unique comedic charm to her as well. Like the comedic timing works so well with this movie. And I'm going to relate it honestly to Audrey Hepburn, 2 Audreys that I've done in Ciné-Club movies back to back. I did Charade last week and now Amélie this week. And it's the natural charisma that they had where in this movie, she's playing like a more shy, introverted character, but it feels quippy at the same time. So Audrey Hepburn, more extroverted, very quippy in that movie with the dialogue and just her performance, incredible. But in this movie, the quippiness comes with like her subtleness, if that makes sense. Like when she's getting that guy to navigate the maze that she made, the arrows pointing him up to the binoculars and then her putting the thing, making him go on a scavenger hunt pretty much. The planning and the craft that went into that. And she seems so articulate with her actions and her emotions that, yeah, she just absolutely knocked it out of the park. And I really did like everyone in the movie. I don't think there was anybody I didn't like, but I think a few standouts were Jamel Debbouze. I think that seems like it's Debboouze. Debbouze as Lucien, the guy who's at the vegetable shop with that other guy, with the bigger guy who I don't honestly remember his name. Yeah, Lucien was incredible. The way he went to that old man's house and he just hung out with him and what's his face? Raphael, I think that was the old guy made of glass. Stole it from Unbreakable. Jeez, Amélie, come on, get some original content. But yeah, when Lucien went with that guy and all of his interactions, the way he laughed, it was so funny. he was, again, just such a quirky character when they were painting, and then he starts to mention Lady D, and then the other guy just gets pissed off. His performance, and then when the main owner just gets messed with by Amélie, that was just, yeah, again, a side quest pretty much, so satisfying. And then when he takes over, he becomes so charismatic and adorable. Really, he was incredible. I really, really liked him. I thought she was gonna get with him, honestly. That was my prediction, but in the end, he got with Nino, who I thought he was an okay character. I didn't really love him, but yeah, he wasn't a standout, was still good. I think the two other standouts in my mind were Joseph and Georgette, so played by Dominique Pignon and Isabelle Nanty, and they played the customer and the one girl, what's her face, Georgette, who works at the bar as well, always gets sick, and their romance was absolutely hilarious. I don't know, the way he just sits there, absolutely still, listens to what they have to say, brings up his tape recorder, records it, and he's so weird and just amazing, and yeah, very quirky. I feel like that's just like a weird word to use when it comes to movies. It's just like, oh, it was so quirky. It's like, doesn't necessarily mean a good thing or a bad thing, but in this movie, like, it just feels like the right word. Just the character quirks were absolutely what made this movie what it was. So yeah, they were incredible. And so a few other things about this movie. I think that the music as well wasn't nominated for the music, but I really, really dug the music. It really went with the fast-paced, stylized everything. So with the entire style of the entire movie, it felt like a comic book, but not like a superhero comic book. Just like, yeah, if this story was transported into a comic book, the visuals of everything, not like the bang pow, just words everywhere, just like so many zooms in, people in the frame, the center of the frame, the color palette was so warm and everything, and used the colder colors with a lot of purpose. And the animation elements were so funny and fantastical. And I think there were hints of deeper messages to this movie. Like, surface level is very enjoyable ride, but like the hinting at moments, what am I trying to say? When moments like when she was in her apartment and then she had a daydream that Nino was coming and was opening his door and was going to open the beads to enter the kitchen, but then it was actually her dog. Those kind of dream sequences kind of lent like just loose ties to deeper messages of her living in more of a dreamlike world. And also just, of course, the pretty on the nose metaphor of her talking about the backstory of that one girl that the Man of Glass is trying to paint. And she keeps talking about how she keeps talking about the backstory of the girl because he believes he can't paint her accurately because he doesn't know the backstory. And so she's just filling in her backstory with kind of how she's feeling in those moments. It was very fun. Like, it was on the nose, yes, but it was very like heartwarming, and it's kind of her unique, silly way of venting to him, even though she's not opening up directly because, yeah, she was a very isolated person, doesn't really have too many people that she can confide in, and so that's her like offhand way of confiding in him through that girl that he's trying to paint. And so, yeah, those deeper messages of her being in a dreamlike world and not actually trying to break out of it, trying to interact with people, which eventually she does at the end, which was great. And yeah, I think the subtleness that I'm starting to understand it more one day later because I watched it yesterday is really shining through and making me like the movie a lot more. Because at the end, I think, yeah, it was very clear that, yeah, the goal is her trying to break out of her comfort zone. She never really had any romance in her life. She never really connected with too many people, quite isolated. And yeah, she just went for it, and it was great. I think that the romance in general with Nino, it wasn't the best. I think he was just a weird dude. I think it's set up that he was just imagining her to be just like this really attractive woman who just like wants him for who he is, and every time a girl walks in, he's like, oh, is that her maybe? And so, and him putting up those posters everywhere of her with the question mark on her stomach, it just felt like that was a bit like him just trying to get with a girl, and then eventually she does go with him at the end. And so it just spoke a bit to his character that he felt kind of like a player a bit, but you never know. But I think that kind of led me astray from his character of liking him, and at the end being like, oh no, he's not good enough for you. He really isn't. But hey, the heart wants what the heart wants. So, you know, you do you, Amélie. Back to a few of the other visual elements. Some of the SFX, special effects that go into the movie, a few of the moments that I'm remembering at the top of my head that I really, really liked. I really liked her just melting into water after, I believe, somebody told her that, oh, the other waitress really wants to get with Nino, and her melting into water. It was, again, leaning back to kind of those comic book feely aspects to the movie. That worked very well, very silly, very fun. And then a few other things where it's those, like her night lamp, and there's like animals there, and the animal, like elephant, turned off the night lamp, and yeah, just leaning to her more fantasy side of her imagination that she's like a daydreamer and everything. That one was silly. Oh, when she was walking through the city with the blind man and describing everything to him, that was really fun. And then it had this top down shot of the man in the streets, and he just like started to glow, this really obvious special effects glow. And yeah, it really did make the point that, yeah, he was really being, I don't want to say enlightened, but he was just, yeah, feeling very special because of that and everything. And it was just, yeah, something nice of her, and it really made his day and everything. I think they worked. The special effects moments, they worked. They were silly. And a few other moments, like the close-ups of the guy at the vegetable parlor were amazing. I feel like the way he spits into the camera, just the way he talks was just so in your face. I love the way he talks. It was hilarious. Yeah, it was awesome. I really liked it. Well, let me think. What other stylized elements were to this movie? Oh, I feel like sometimes they were just random shots that were just like so quick, so sped up that it felt kind of out of place. Like her traveling on the subway and everything. And you had just like these super, super quick, like traveling on the subway. It like went super fast. It lasted like a second. And then she's at the next location. And it was so jarring and so interesting. I really don't know how I feel about it. It did it a few times, not with just traveling, but with a few other things where it's just like these really, really quick, sped up moments. And they were just so interesting, so stylized. And yeah, it was just so weird. There was a lot of movement to the camera, of course, a lot of just, yeah, panning into characters and showing them, and then things where it's like revealing the character on screen. There was a lot of moments where it's like the shot started without anybody in it, and then it like revealed the character on the screen and everything. And I don't know, it's just things like that. Like the movements felt very fluid, very fun, very fast when they needed to be, and it just worked so well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really want to say, because yeah, it was an interesting one. Just the style was so unique. I can't think of another movie that feels like this movie. Very, very unique. Let's see. Oh, I saw. It looks like that at the Cannes Festival, one of the selectors, Gilles Jacob, described Amélie as uninteresting. That's a quote from Wikipedia. And so it wasn't shown at the festival. At Cannes, in France. And Amélie, one of the most iconic, probably the most iconic French movie of all time, was not in the festival. And it says that it was not screened at the festival, and that the selector watched an early cut without the music. And so that's interesting to see how much of a difference that would have made, because I do think that the music definitely lends a lot to the movie, but there's so much other style to the movie that I feel like, come on, you gotta still find some merit in it. And apparently it caused controversy because everybody liked the movie and everything. So the contrast of the audience and the media compared to her selecting, yeah, the contrast of the audience and the media compared to Cannes not selecting it was, yeah, it was up in the air, you know. So yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. But hey, it was nominated for some Oscars and everything. So hey, it's got that. But let me think. Any other characters? Any other moments that I really want to talk about? Let's see. I think the last thing I'll talk about is I really, really dug the portrait booklet. Again, with these character quirks when he's just digging up through the garbages under the photo booths and everything, trying to find pictures and everything and putting them in the scrapbook. It's just such like a cozy hobby. It's just such a cozy hobby that this guy has that's so interesting. And I guess that kind of leads a little to more, I guess that kind of leads a bit more to his character and how he's deeper than you think, really. And the mystery of the bald man that she thought was like a ghost who wasn't there anymore, that was just in so many of these pictures, and it ended up him being the worker on all of these, who just does the maintenance on all of these photo booths. That was hilarious and amazing, and I loved it. I loved the moment where she realized that and the camera like turned upside down. But yeah, I really love the booklet. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's just like, it's such a fun quirk. And okay, in conclusion, that it's just, there's so many fun, unique quirks to this movie that I just have to underline how impressive the writing is. That when I'm writing, having one character and giving them a unique character quirk that people watch and they're just so like engaged with and so satisfied with, it's so difficult. And it felt like this movie did it with every single character. It spared no expense. Every single character is so detailed and has a quirk so attractive about them that you just want to see them on screen more and know so much more about them. And it worked so well. Yeah, this movie, iconic French movie, really, really dug it. Of course, highly recommend it. I think everybody should watch this movie. And yeah, really, really dug Amélie. And so, I will now choose a movie for next week. Okay, I think for next week, I'll do Duel, directed by Riley Stearns. I have not seen The Art of Self-Defense, but I've heard good things. It is on my list. And I've seen the trailer for Art of Self-Defense, and it's very, like, dry humor. I don't know what to expect for Duel, if it's going to be similar, but just the uniqueness of The Art of Self-Defense, even from just watching the trailer, I think that this movie definitely seems very, very interesting. And the plot line just seems crazy, silly. So yeah, very much looking forward to this.